marriage experience, where two have truly become one. God is at the center of us, our purpose and vision in His love. We dedicate our today, tomorrow, and always to You, our King. Bless and let there be love in our home. The marriage experience ordained by You alone. The marriage experience. The marriage experience ordained by You alone.
Welcome to the Marriage Experience program with Ayakunle and Bosade Santos, where they explore what it means to cultivate a God-centric marriage by delivering realistic and biblical wisdom, pointers, and insights from couples and individuals on the marriage journey. Join them today as they share some insights. Enjoy.
Hello, friends, and welcome to this very special episode of the Marriage Experience program, where our conversations give you the needed tools to build a thriving Christian marriage. And, it is always, as we say, our delight to be on this journey with you to build successful and godly marriages. And remember, we did promise you a treat this week, and we have made good on our promise.
Absolutely. Yes, welcome to our Still on a Celebration Mode episodes. Today, as part of gearing up to mark a powerful milestone, the 8th anniversary of Song Live, we're celebrating the sound that cannot fade, the faithfulness of God, the strength of community, and the legacy of vision. And today we are joined by none other, drumroll, the visionary herself, Eloho.
So, Eloho, you're welcome, and
Thank
congratulations on this incredible journey.
All right. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on your show. I mean, you guys have been at it for how long now?
2 years.
So, 2 years, yes.
Yeah.
So congratulations are in order to you as well. But delighted to be here with you.
Thank
Okay.
you. So let's start from the very beginning. Tell us how Song Live was born and what did God show you? How did that vision come to life?
All right. So I'll take you right to the very, very, very beginning of it all.
Genesis chapter 1, verse 1.
Yeah. So because there's a history, there's a background, So I can't remember the year exactly. I think I was doing my youth service in Kaduna State at that time, and I had to attend Bible school because you know how from when you're young you always knew that you had the call of God on your life, right?
Yeah.
So I was always chasing God everywhere I was. My mom said to me when I was 9 years old, I actually was when I first received Jesus, made the altar call, I went out, and from then on I started asking her the things that I thought in my heart, if I put them into writing, could that be songs, So I always knew that I had the call of God on my life and I wanted to chase after that. And so when I was doing my youth service, I decided to go to Bible school in Jos. So I went to Bible school in Jos, and during the different lessons and different things we were having, this scripture from nowhere just jumped into my heart. First Samuel, I think it was chapter 10, where the Bible said that, and God gave Saul another heart. I believe that, So that word, another heart, just jumped out at me. And I started to ask God, what does that even mean? I'm here in Bible school wanting to know you more, get closer to you. And then this story about Saul, God giving him another heart. What is another heart? And then, then I was always big on Oprah Winfrey. So I thought, maybe it's a talk show called Another Heart. And so I held on to Another Heart as a talk show, thinking it was going to be a talk show like Oprah Winfrey. I even shared it with one of my pastors then. I was like, and he was saying, okay, because then I used to write poems a lot. Maybe you should write a poem about another heart. But nothing happened. Nothing materialized after. Then I just carried my another heart back to Kaduna where I was. And one day, like I normally would do, I was just worshiping, and it felt like I went into a trance. While I was worshiping, I was in front of a television with a microphone, and I was just singing away, worshiping, and it felt like I went into a trance. And in that atmosphere was when I saw a big crowd with me in the audience, and several other people were just worshiping together. And in that place, God started to do things, healing, salvation, deliverances. So I held on to that dream. You know, wow, okay. So God is calling me into this space. At that time, now people say, oh, it's ministry. I wasn't sure what it was. I'd been to Bible school, yes, because I wanted to know more about God and serve him. But I couldn't properly articulate what that was. But I saw that and I held on to it for years. Went on, got married, started serving in another church. So I left Kaduna, went to Port Harcourt. I was serving in another church. I shared the vision that I had for organizing worship events. That also didn't materialize. But my pastor then, I'm sure he saw something that I didn't see. Anyway, I was ordained as a deacon, as a minister, as a pastor. And then we started to do a talk show at this point called Oh, What a Day. But just as we were about, growing the show was when we left Nigeria to the United Kingdom. So I carried the dream of another heart. I carried the dream of the talk show. I carried that vision in my heart, not knowing how or when it was going to materialize. But I just took it with me. And as I always do, anywhere I find myself, the first place I plug myself into is a church. And I joined the worship team immediately, So I joined a church in London. And life happens. I forgot about the dream, and I forgot about that dream. And then we moved to Aberdeen. So it was while in Aberdeen, and then serving with the church. Then I think in 2008, I shared the vision again. So I think the Lord brought it back to my remembrance. So in 2008, I actually wrote a proposal, Aberdeen in Worship. I called it Aberdeen in Worship, shared it with my pastor then, and he said, you're not ready. Initially, I'm not ready. Why? So I started to fight it, but I just let it be. And thank God I didn't even step out at that point, because I think God needed to take me through a few things.
Right.
So Aberdeen in Worship didn't happen. And then in 2011, after I had the twins, several other groups sprang up in Aberdeen doing worship events. So I was now pained. I was like, but God, I was supposed to have done this, and that's something I learned. When God gives you a dream and a vision, just chase after it.
Yeah, that's very true.
He will raise even the stones to do the work that,
Absolutely.
Yes, I had listened to, I wasn't ready, but it was God who gave me the vision, not man. And he would have given me everything I needed. Anyway, so at that point, I was like, so Lord, what do I do now? Because I don't want it to look like I'm copying what other people are doing.
Yeah.
Said to me, how many children do you have now? I said 3. Are they different? I said, yes. You love them differently? Yes. And they all respond to you differently? I said, yes. And that's exactly, you are all my children, and you all have different expressions. So,
I mean, even the twins.
the twins.
Yes.
Exactly.
That is amazing.
Twins, yes.
Yes.
So it was then I got the courage to okay, let's step out now and do ministry.
Yeah.
And obviously at that time, worship was central to everything. And worship is a tool to bring people together.
Absolutely.
And so Heart Song Ministries was born in 2011, organizing worship events, breakfast meeting, just to bring people together, remembering that dream I had of how
Yeah.
God was moving in the place of worship. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that happened. First year we did it 2011. I was literally shaking because I'm like, what? You know, the presence of God was really tangible,
Yeah.
and then 2012 we did it again, and boom, life happens. I was practically kicked out of the church because my role was just supposed to be a worship leader in the church and do nothing else. At that point, I began to question the vision, I began to question the dream. God, did you really send me? Or am I just doing my thing? It was 2012. And I remember I spoke to Prophet Tomi Arayomi at that time. And so he actually gave me a book called Overcoming Approval Addiction or something like that by Joyce Meyer. Because he was like, God has called you, God has given you the vision. Now we will know if God truly calls you. Are you going to quit because of the challenges, or are you going to? So anyhow, to cut a long story short, I said, okay, we're going ahead, to continue this ministry. And so in 2013, we went bigger than the past 2 years. It's okay, if God really called you, let's see what will happen. At this point, of course, churches had started to, some churches who were supporting started to pull back their support because of I don't know what. But we went all in, and that year God just showed himself strong. 90% of the crowd was locals from Aberdeen and even outside Aberdeen, not necessarily Africans, or
Yeah.
and from them people started asking me, even pastors, how did you do it? I said, I don't know how I did it. I'm a bitch. God just said, go do this, because I know that music cuts across every denomination.
That's very true. Yeah.
And even culture.
And culture, so that is what pulled people in. And in that presence, people were getting delivered, saved, healed, and just transformed. So we went on and did that for a few good years. And I always say that if people don't invite you to a table, you create your own table.
Excellent. Yeah, excellent. That is
so
very true. Yeah.
In that process of time, I released my 2 albums. So 2014 first, 2016 the second one. And as an independent artist, you will know that it's difficult to break into mainstream.
Yeah.
I said, well, I have managed to gather a crowd, and I believe that I can actually start an online radio or a platform to play my music, share the love of Jesus, and also give the platform to all the upcoming artists as myself who didn't have a platform or a stage. So in a nutshell, that's how the radio was born. But before it was born, obviously I volunteered with another radio station for a year. I was doing another show called I Testify with Eloho, where I was just sharing people's testimonies and stories. And before I started that show, there was a lady who was in the Engage worship team, so the worship word, who had a prophetic word about me starting a radio and a studio, but I didn't take it seriously because I was like, I want to do opera, I want to do TV, I want to do TV, I want to do TV,
Yeah.
So after I started that show, speaking, my husband called me, was like, I just listened to you. This is what you were born to do. I was like, really? So for me, that was second confirmation. And then, unknowing to me, December 31st, when you're writing your vision or dream, my iPhone notes, I put a radio station, right?
Wow.
I'm like, I was telling everybody TV show, I'm starting a talk show. I even asked people for to give me quotes. I've shared the vision of the talk show with everybody. Then that lady's prophecy, the notes I had put down, my husband's, I'll call it testimonial or something. I was like, okay, maybe I should pray into this. So I got a few friends to the house and said, okay, please, let's just pray into this. This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm hearing. And so we prayed into it. And that was when, this was 2016, God got the release to go start a radio station, right? Like, what do I know about radio? Who's going to help me with radio? But I'll never forget. Every time I tell this story, I remember seeing a yellow sofa when I was praying. I was like, okay, I'm going to buy that. And the yellow sofa was one of the first things I bought.
Yeah.
Radio station. So 2016, from 2016, I just started making inquiries, learning, asking for support.
Right.
I always say there are other people who have gone on that journey. Speak to them. So I asked, so the station I was volunteering, I asked them about equipment. I spoke to another friend who had an online radio station in London and another friend who had a radio station. So with all of this, I was now armed. So between 2016 August to 2017 February, March, it was like a preparation process.
Right.
Things in place. Obviously, we didn't have the money at that time to even buy any equipment because all the people were sending me, buy this, buy that, buy that. So I had my spreadsheet and the amount it would cost. So in a nutshell, that's how Heart Song Live was born. So I wanted to take you back to the very start.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Heart Song Live, the radio, was then born in 2017. And there's something I wanted to say, but slipped here.
I'm sure it'll come back as we continue to discuss. Wow.
Yeah.
Eloho, this has been a beautiful, beautiful. Honestly, we can split this up into 3 movies. Season 1, this has been really great.
And it just goes to show that a call is not without conflict.
That's
you
it.
know, you
Exactly.
have to war for it. You have to fight for it. Otherwise, it doesn't just come like that. Thank you so much for sharing that story.
Yeah, when of course I had never heard of Another Heart, and I was just thinking about it and listening to your journey of what, over 40, make quick calculation here, about 43 years from when you're 9 till now. Not 43, 44 maybe. When you're 9 till now. Now, 2 things struck me as you're saying, as you're telling us the story. The first is you were searching, and the second one was that you were learning. And those are when one is called, especially to ministry or to anything, you have to realize that you're going to have to learn. Because if you're already an expert in that field, then what are you called to? So now, looking back at those years, what would you say, if we want to ask you a question, 2 major challenges or 2 major learning moments that you had during that period? And this is mainly for those who are starting that journey you've just described. What are the 2 major ones? What would you say?
Okay, that's a good question. So when I was kicked out of the church, I did everything to make peace, right? And it wasn't happening. And even the people I called friends at that point didn't know the full story. So they all left. And so I felt isolated. I believe I went into depression at that stage because I refused to go to church. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. But, and then even when we started Heart Song Live Radio, 1 year after, everybody left, but just one person. So that time, I took it all personally. Do you understand? And I felt that I had a problem. That's why people were always leaving or kicking me out. And that's where the devil will want us to get to. So that it will frustrate the call, so that you give it up.
Absolutely.
Right?
Now that's what the devil wants.
Yes. So I remember one scripture that the Lord laid in my heart was like, when a man's ways pleases God, even his enemies to be at peace with him. So for me, what the Lord was saying was, take your eyes off every other thing and focus on me. So I had to learn, and I'm still learning that.
Absolutely.
I had to learn. One of the biggest lessons was, you know what? Stay on your lane. Stay focused.
That's right.
You will
That's
lose friendships. You will lose so many people on the way.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
But for the call, just focus on me. So that's one of the biggest lessons. Anyone who's starting now is hear God. We need people. I always say that we can't do life alone. But then when God was giving you the assignments, like they say, it wasn't a conference call. So the first thing will be stay focused. Seek the face of God continually.
Right.
Even when everyone else has deserted you. I know that you are not the problem. Because sometimes at a point I had to even go for counseling because I thought this is happening too much. What's going on? So biggest lesson is just seek God, seek him above all else. Every other person will align.
Absolutely.
After the first year, we started with so much excitement. I had how many presenters, and then before we turned 1 year, I was left on my own.
Wow.
How am I going to carry this dream? And then that year, God brought 2 people I would never have thought, and one of those persons is Sheila. Till date, Sheila's still here. So first thing is just seeking God's face continually first, and then secondly, I think I already said it, but don't take things personal. Don't take things personal at all. People will come, people will go. There for time, for seasons, reasons, and a lifetime. So don't take it personal when people start to just go. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean they are bad people. It's just that their season is over. But for me at that time, I was still chasing that. No, why? They should be here. So I was doing everything to ensure that they were there, forgetting who sent me and chasing other people.
And why he sent you. Yeah.
One important thing that I missed out was when the ovation is loudest, everyone is there. Cheering you on. It's just like when we first have babies, everybody's there. But after a while,
no one's there to change the diapers with you.
Exactly. So are you going to leave that baby and say,
No.
nurture them? So that's another important lesson I've learned. When the ovation dies down, keep on keeping on. Give life. Just like you give life to your baby, you feed, you nurture, you change diapers. Feed your vision, and nurture it.
You're listening to the Marriage Experience program with Ayakunle and Bosade Santos.
Thank you so much, Eloho. I personally am learning a lot. Honestly, I wish we could go on for 3 hours. One thing that you have emphasized on, which is what we also emphasize on the Marriage Experience program, is approval addiction. What would people think? What would people say? And second thing, I would like to share this is also a personal revelation for me. When you have a vision and you really believe something is going to work and you're running and no one's running with you until you know what the Holy Spirit told me once. He says, when you have a vision, like it's like you have a dream when you're asleep and everything looks so real, and then you wake up and expect everyone to run with you the way you saw, and it's like they were not in the dream with you.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
how can you expect them?
She said the call wasn't a conference
It wasn't
call.
a conference call. They were not on the dream with you. So how do you expect them to see things the way you see them?
Absolutely.
You know, so it is if they're not willing to run with you, fine. Everyone has their own choices. Approval addiction. Honestly, we can have a series on that. On the marriage experience.
I was an approval addict. Another thing is, there was one time I read this somewhere and it so ministered to me. When you go to your opticians first, that you get a prescription. No other person can use that prescription.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Run your own race.
Yeah.
Stick to
Run
your own
your race.
lane.
You can't expect people to see
Yeah.
what you are seeing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And all of this remind me of David. After David was after he was anointed king, that was when his troubles started.
exactly.
That was when Saul went after him, and people left him until his 3D army eventually came to him. So, but let's look at it from the perspective of the family, because at this time you said you had 3 kids already, and you still, your husband was there still needing your attention, and you had to keep the family going. So how did you manage? How did this impact your home? And what also kept you anchored that you didn't flip over?
Good question again, because when you see us now, you're like, wow. People tell me your husband is so supportive. I said, thank God. But when I first started, I made a lot of mistakes, and I didn't carry him along. So that caused a lot of friction in the house, right? And you know how you feel like, but God sent me.
Yeah.
But God sent me. You should be able to see. But we just talked about no other person.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
I think it was Prophet Tomi again who told me that I needed to be able to, because he's not seeing what you're seeing. So you need to be able to communicate with him and to him the vision, and then carry him along. So it took years. We fought, we quarreled. Some nights you say, I'm not doing it again. I remember one time we went to minister outside Aberdeen. He knew I was going to minister outside Aberdeen, but who was going with me, I didn't say. And then, so you went and brought this person to, so things like that, right? But I had to begin to learn to open up to him, because I had some nasty experience growing up as a child, which made me not trust completely. So I would cover up so many things, because I feel like they don't understand, he wouldn't understand, or he might shut me off, or he might stop me from doing this, So, but over the years, I had to now learn to start to open up to him and carry him along. Then he bought into the vision. So that's what helped. Communication helped me a lot. And now these days it's like, you can talk now. Back in the day, you never used to say anything. But I had to learn that. At a point, I used to tell my pastor's wife, I was like, I think we need counseling. I was like, baby, calm down. You don't need counseling.
Right.
Counseling is good, but there are issues. So I had to open up to him, told him about the issues I even had growing up, that was affecting me. And he was understanding. As for the children, I wasn't doing a regular 9-to-5 job, because I quit my job 6 months after the twins were born, because it was chaotic. So they had my full attention, so to speak. They went everywhere with me, rehearsals, everywhere I was going, they went with me. Sometimes I think Nathan suffered the most, because there were some events I couldn't attend, but with the children I was present, but not with my husband, if you get what I mean. But I had to learn communication, speaking to other people who had been married before, and then also pastors, and then praying as well. So he and I started praying together a lot more than we're doing, studying the Bible together. And, so
Yeah, and of course that's understandable, because that's one of the key things we preach when it comes to marriages, which is communication. Your husband has to know what page you're on, so that both of your spouse has to know what page you're on, so that both of you can actually, you are reading the same content, and one is not working away from what the other person is doing. And so it's just important that as
I mean, when I
couples,
opened up and started carrying him along, he took charge. Like,
yeah,
he was funding the whole thing.
Wow.
He was the
Wow.
head usher.
Wow.
He was
Yeah.
just.
Wow.
I
it
was
beautiful.
about to get to that, and I'm sure as well, because money was involved. He had to know
Lord.
exactly where money
Money is
was
always
going.
involved. Yeah, this story. First of all, I'll just have to say it again, Eloho. We're really, really appreciative of your being vulnerable, because not many people will be able to open up and talk about these issues so freely. So God bless you. Now, one of the, as we're talking about this on this point, I just a very quick, short question: what piece of advice would you have for, especially for women who may have been called into some form of ministry, maybe pulpit ministry or music ministry, whatever it is, whose husbands may not be totally in tune with them? What quick words could you just share with them to encourage them and to give them an idea of how to handle the situation?
Okay, I think one of the very first things, we've talked a lot about communication, but your husband, since we're talking to women now, your husband needs to feel important. Yeah, because what was happening then was, I didn't make him feel important. I didn't feel like he had anything to give.
Wow.
So I think that really hurt his ego.
Wow.
Whether he was providing the money or not, then it was still his money.
Absolutely.
Do you understand? Whether he was saying this is for engage, now he does that specifically, But at that point, I would just take money and be running with it. So I'll say to any woman listening, your husband needs to feel important, not in charge per se, but just like,
Relevant.
I'm important here.
Relevant, yes.
Relevant, valued.
Yeah.
Yes.
When he feels valued, when he feels important, he will support you.
Absolutely.
And that's what I've come to learn.
Absolutely.
Thank you so
And all
much.
of these are validating, the pointers that we had given from our previous episodes, that your spouse must feel valued. Your spouse must feel seen. Your spouse must feel heard. So can you walk us through some of Heart Songs Live biggest milestones over the past 8 years? Because, we know that there must be a turning point for every ministry. Yeah.
So I would say our first big milestone. All right, we started online in 2017, and a few months down the line, we hit our first 10,000 listeners. I was celebrating that on Facebook, and over the years there was a decline. Like I said, when there's a new baby, everyone celebrates it, but then move on to other things. You know? So there was a decline. And then people left, but we still kept on going. And then 5 years after, we were invited to be on DAB in Edinburgh. We learned that somebody had seen what we were doing and thought that we were credible enough to be on Edinburgh DAB. Okay, so yes, yay, exciting. What do I do now? I don't know. And they said, oh, you need a license from Ofcom. Oh my God, Ofcom.
Here we go again.
That's a big
It's beginning to sound like a big thing right now, right?
Exactly, because online it was just easy. Just create online, and But for every vision, there's provision.
Yeah.
So when I was like, I don't know anybody who has done this. So I spoke to a pastor friend in Newcastle. I was like, oh, I know a guy who just opened the deal. I was like, what? And he gave me this guy's number, Kyle. That's his name. So Kyle sent me his whole application form. Who does that? So he sent that, we applied, and boom, Ofcom approved. Yay! And
Wow. Yeah. And we're all reaping the benefits
Awesome.
now.
yes,
Yeah.
we went live on DAB August 2022.
Wow.
So that was one of the biggest milestones ever for us. And after then, we've been invited to several DAB multiplexes. We were in Glasgow, but we had to come off. That's another story on its own. We had to come off the Glasgow DAB cost-wise, and then the providers were just being mean. But after that first one, we've got several. Now we're on Inverclyde DAB. There's another DAB who has invited us. Usually when organizations apply to Ofcom for a multiplex, they need to get like expressions of interest from stations. So they always approach us before they go to Ofcom to say, we're going to apply. Can we put your name? I was like, wow. So we're now
we're
now credible. Yeah. So big moment for us being on DAB in Edinburgh, Glasgow at that time, in Inverclyde now, soon to be on Lancashire or something like that. So so that was one of the major ones. And then on, we have gone to celebrate different events. Last year, we started our women's arm, which I resisted for a long time. And you, Sister Bosede, were there last year, and it was beautiful. And we're doing it again this year. This year, there's been so much that has happened already. And as we're looking towards celebrating 8th year, we celebrated Multicultural Week. We celebrated one of our year 7 strategy was about community spotlighting. So we've been doing that in the community, spotlighting community organizations, local businesses, and it's been fantastic. We did a whole week on that. Now it's a program on its own. Every day at 3 p.m. you just hear from community, and that's something we really want to build on. There's lots more, there's so much more, and I'm really just thankful.
So on that, I mean, this is a really interesting journey. So thinking back, which one particular situation can you say, no, God did that? Because there's no way human ability. Okay, just throw one at us. Just
we
one.
would love to hear all of them, but
yes.
Let's see. I mean, one of them, if I think back now, was it takes finances to run.
Yes.
To run everything we do. In just before we went on DAB, 2021, 20, where and how God did it till date, I can't remember. He just raised someone. Our equipment was, because when we started, I just started with one all-in-one computer, and a small mixer, but we needed to upgrade. And I was like, God, where, how? I did a little fundraiser, it didn't go anywhere. But then this woman just came and gave over almost £5,000. I was like, how?
Wow.
One single person.
Wow.
So we bought mixers, we bought more microphones, we bought headphones. Another person came and said, your website is not blah, 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 blah. My son does business with so. I will get them to speak with you. Spoke with them, and they came and gave us one bill of 6,000 plus. I was like, okay. And this person said, you know what? I'll pay for it.
What?
Wow.
Yeah, so those two. Oh, my goodness. And then right now, when when I'm trusting God, I was like, but God, you did it that time.
Yes.
Can you not do it
Yes.
again now?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why, one of the reasons why we ask that question, because everyone, including ourselves, we all find ourselves in those kind of situations where we have to trust God. Where it is impossible. You talked about fundraising. That was the best you knew. To look for money. Of course, you can't go and rob a bank or anything like that. So you want to fundraise, but God had a better plan for you, and a quicker and an easier plan than that. So God bless you.
Oftentimes we just see the little and the limited that we have, but God is always looking at a bigger picture. Talk
True.
about Abraham. Abraham wanted a son. God wanted a nation. Hagar had a bottle of water which was exhausted, but God provided a well. So this is the way God works. And we cannot do anything that He's called us to. We cannot do anything on our own. So you talked about community, which was the focus for last year. So let's talk about community. How has HeartSong Live become more than a station, but a global family?
Wow, I love that question. Oh, you know what? A few days ago, when I was having my conversations with God, like, where's the money? And I love the way He just whispers into my heart. You just have a knowing. And the first thing I heard was, impact is not about money.
Absolutely.
Look at the lives of the people that are being transformed. Those who even tell you, those who do not. And then look at the people. I shared with you how 1 year after everybody left and I was on my own. But today, how many people do we have in that community? How many people are in our WhatsApp group? And I just started to say, Lord, I thank you for every single person. I'm simply honored to call every one of you family, friends. And I mean,
Amazing.
HeartSong Live back in the day has, with the people who were there at that time, has been able to support people within just when they had, from the little we had, someone is in need. And before you know it, I just speak to a few people, boom, it's done.
Wow. That's just amazing.
And of course, listeners are not just in the UK. They are listeners in different parts of the world.
And even members of the global community. We've got a lady in Annette, exactly, yes, in Barbados. So I'm looking to add more.
I'll tell you something. When you're talking about listeners from all over the world, sometimes, especially with radio, you can't tell who's listening to you. You can't tell where they are from, right? And so a few weeks ago, we had some technical issues. In the studio, everything was playing fine. But people were texting me, there's something wrong with your stream, even the Invacli DAB. And then I get an email from someone, this is so person, I'm listening from Canada. Please, can you I'm like, oh, wow, okay.
Really? You say Canada, really?
Do you understand?
Yeah.
So, and I even used that to encourage one of the presenters who was feeling that they don't think their show is impacting anything. I said, just listen to this testimony we had, and that's one person who's just telling us. How about the billions of people who cannot say it?
This is just so comforting to hear, Eloho. One of the things when you're training trainers is, look, it's not about what you know, it's not about what you think you're doing, it's the impact it has on the people you're training. That's what really matters. So in 8 years of ministry, 8 years of impact, how have you seen the lives of people's marriages, their churches, or even nations shift through the message of the message you pass across, the music, all that's gone out? What kind of shift have you seen? You shared one already about a lady in Canada, or someone in Canada. Have you seen that?
Yeah, so yesterday, this just happened yesterday, so I can talk about it. Graham does Hope Rising with G every Friday. He was just doing his show yesterday. I was listening to him and enjoying him, but apparently there was someone who needed the message he was sharing, and he prayed. And so after the show, I noticed that on Facebook, someone had commented and Graham responded. And I went and looked. I was like, I don't know who you are, or I don't, but I was scrolling and I came across your live on Facebook, and you spoke exactly to where I was or I am, and you prayed about it. So
Wow.
this person was saying this is just to encourage you. And for me, that was like, wow. Wow. So we're seeing lives being impacted by the message.
Wow.
We're seeing people's lives being transformed. One of our presenters, who this year she comes up to me, I think I interviewed her on my show, and after that she was like, oh, she would love to do so and so and so and so. I said, sure, the platform is yours, when you're ready. And her life has just miraculously, changed.
Amazing.
And she's just forever grateful for the platform. In 2017, when we started, there was this young man who was reviewing people's music and stuff online as a blog. I said, come and do a show. And he was like, no, I can't. I'm not built for that. I'm not this, I'm not that. So I gave it to a friend. I said, okay, you speak well. You're confident. So read his reviews.
Right.
After a year comes, it was like, Eloho, I want to do the show myself. So he did the show for 1 year. Guess what? Now that show is a syndicate show across so many platforms and radio.
Wow.
And every time he says that, he would never have gotten that platform if not for Heart Song Live.
Wow.
So we're seeing things like this happen. One of the days I was doing my show, someone sent a message. I think I was talking about fear. And someone sent a message that show was particularly for him. He was dealing with, a situation at work. And that show spoke to him. I've seen people like, even my big sister, it's okay when your friends and people around you are celebrating what you do. But when family does it,
it validates it even more.
oh my goodness. My big sister never misses any of my shows. And she talks about how the show has helped her. One of the things, she married late. I'm sure you must have heard her story.
Yes.
And then she got married. She's like, what will she do? I was even encouraging her to do a master class. But because of the words she hears from my station, start where you are, start. She now has a bakery.
Wow.
She took the lessons that she learned from the show.
Wow.
That's
And then, I'm big on gratitude. So I'm seeing people's lives shift because they're now being more intentional about their gratitude rather than just, oh, thank you, God, for air, for water. No, they're being intentional about it. One of the other things, because one of my shows, I asked people to write 10 things that they love about them. So people struggled.
I remember that show, yes.
Yeah, people struggled, but now people are doing it.
Yeah.
So these are some of the impact that I've seen.
You're listening to the Marriage Experience program with Ayakunle and Bosade Santos.
So we've talked about impact. Let's look at legacy, because this is ongoing, and we're looking at what Heart Song Live would live for the next generation. So what does the word legacy mean to you, and how does that shape what comes next? Because 8 years, we're talking about new beginnings right now.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Okay, so I love that question about legacy, because right now I'm trying to involve my children as much as possible. Last year we went for a festival.
I remember.
I took all three of them.
Yes.
And also got Nathan to do some of the interviews. And honestly, he was amazing, right?
I remember that. Yes.
He was so good.
And very natural too.
Very, very natural,
Yes.
So it gave me an idea that, what? In fact, just this morning, let me not even go back there. Just this morning, I was thinking, how right now, even I personally with my work, I'm always women. But I said, before women get to be women, they are girls. Why don't you start investing in young girls now, so that when they get to become woman, they wouldn't need all this,
Yes,
True.
yes,
True.
absolutely.
So for me, this next season, this next phase, I want to be able to impact, empower the next generation using my children and even friends of my children. So Bim, one of the guys who acts as PR for us, his young son, I don't know if you must have heard his voice on Heart Song Live Radio. So I'm planning a show for him so that he can start being more visible in that gift and ministry, because he is beautiful. I mean, when you hear the innocence in his voice. So these are some of the things I'm thinking for the next season, because we don't want Heart Song Live to just fizzle away like that. Yes, we are impacting older generation, but there is room and space for the upcoming.
And God himself is big on generations.
On generation. In July, we're having a 2-week summer camp. And thank God that was even funded from the council where we are.
Wow.
To run a 2 weeks program for children between the ages of 7 and 14, I believe, on media.
Wow.
On training them how to create content. And then after the 2 weeks, we'll put together a podcast that will be aired on Heart Song Live Radio and across.
Wonderful.
So there is, I believe that, I remember back in the day when I was working with an NGO, we had a project, 50 for the Future. We're training 50 children for the future. This next generation, we want to leave that legacy for them. So it's not just, oh, it's you old people, it's your thing, you know? So involving them right now as much as possible. Amy and Josh have been begging them for years to do a show. But I know the time will come, and it's getting to that place where, you know, because Josh wants to be a YouTuber. I was like, yes, that's good. I'll come and start
You know, there's one word that keeps coming up when we ask this question, and that's the word involvement. You know, because when you want to pass a legacy on, it's not about, you know, like you set up a company and then you're the CEO for all the years, and then you want to retire, and then you then call your child who's been, you know, I don't know, if the company manufactures bolts and nuts or something, your child who has been in the medical field, and you tell him to come and take over. It doesn't work that way.
It doesn't.
You know, it doesn't work that way. You know, so that word involvement, and it is amazing, you know, to see how you're involving them in and that's how things are passed on from the older generation to the younger generation.
Absolutely.
So if we may use a telescope, you know, to look into the future, right? You know, this year we're embracing new beginnings, we're embracing community and legacy. What is God showing you about the new chapter for Heart Song Live? What can you see in that telescope? If you can reveal it to us.
I'll try my best, but I wanted to say something about involvement before I moved on. You know how every one of you now uploads your show yourself?
Yes.
Do you want to know who suggested that?
Who? Was that Nathan?
Nathan.
Wow.
That is
absolutely, because it takes the pressure off you. Everyone gets involved. Yeah.
And you know something, you know, as a personal, you know, uploader, if I can call ourselves that, you know, it's so much easier. You know, in the past, we'll have to package it and send it to you. Hope you get the message and get the response. We don't need all that anymore. We can upload it at any time, you know, day, night, whatever. And it's really great.
And that's why we need the brain of the younger generation.
Because
they know how to make life easy for themselves.
They do. I mean, several things he helped us at that festival that I've been trying to do for years. Even recently, 2 weeks ago, we were trying to update the website, and he suggested, it was like, Mom, because we have this PDF, and I was like, oh, I wanted to do a landing page. I was like, just put it on the website and get the guys so that it scrolls, so people are scrolling on your website. Boom.
That's it.
And we had, that's it. Anyway, so for the next, I'm looking 2 years from today, right?
Right.
I put a message on a media group that I'm on. And one of the girls asked, is there a party? I said, no, the party is going to be in 10 years. So you start preparing from now for that 10th year, because that's not just going to be a celebration of Heart Song Live 10 years. It's going to be a celebration of community one. It's going to be a celebration of voices that have been amplified. So we're going to be honoring people who've been on this journey that don't necessarily get the spotlight.
Okay.
So that's one big thing that we're looking towards. So that's the only thing I'm going to tell you. So in 2 years' time, wherever you are, please, I'm going to even book a venue so that people can plan 2 years ahead, because it's going to be big, it's going to be massive.
Wonderful.
It's going to cause a shift and a revolution in
Hallelujah.
in the media landscape here in Scotland to the world.
Hallelujah.
You know, you know,
so that's the only thing I'm going to say.
oh, for sure.
I mean, we really do understand.
We honor that,
you know.
absolutely.
One thing, before we ask the next question, one thing that just flashed in my mind was what we discussed at the very beginning when we were talking about challenges that you faced and what you learned. This vision and what you see opening up to you now, Eloho, is what Eloho has been called to do.
Absolutely.
No one else could have done it this way. That doesn't mean this is the only way or this is the very best way. This is what your assignment has been. Just like cars, you have different cars, you have different colors. If we only had one car, one model, and one color, what would life be like?
Exactly.
So everyone, when someone asks a question, is a Ferrari better than a big fat truck? Well, the Ferrari
cannot do what
that truck can do, and the truck cannot do what Ferrari. Each one's designed for what purpose that they have.
I mean, it's just like what you said. God said to you that you have 3 kids. You love each one of them uniquely, and each one of them is just built differently. So everybody is, we've all been called into ministry in our own unique ways. I remember when we turned 30 years of marriage, and we felt we wanted to give back to couples as a result of what God has done in our lives. That's not to say that we've had the easiest marriage or we've been the best couple on earth. No, but we've just been a couple on a journey. And we approached you and we sold you the idea of a marriage program on Heart Song Live, and you jumped at it, was like, yes, let's do this. So what would you say to someone who's listening right now and who holds a vision on their hearts, but they're feeling afraid to start? Because you gave us, we came with trepidation to talk about it, but you gave us like a boost to say, you know what, I'm all for this, let's go for it. So what would you say to them?
Just go for it. Just do it afraid. Yeah,
just go for it. Just
do it
go
afraid.
like that. Yes.
Do it afraid. Start. Yesterday, I do a weekly email, right? So the one that went out yesterday was talking about the journey, how started from the garage. I was a mess in that year. And
I remember how that email started. I was a mess 8 years ago. That will catch anybody's attention.
It will catch anybody's attention. Do people came to me? One girl was actually crying.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
That email spoke to her. So I was supposed to have a conversation with her yesterday, but I think her battery was low. She didn't call, And then another one says, I just read your newsletter. I'm starting now. So I would say start now. Perfect it as you go. Secondly, there are people who have already gone ahead of you. Speak to them. Not every one of them will welcome you, and that's okay. You're not everybody's cup of tea.
Absolutely.
It's fine. You will find
some people don't like tea, so other people prefer coffee.
You will find the next person who will be able to hold your hand through the process. So I think the greatest fear is just starting. Once you start, you now realize, it wasn't so scary after all.
It reminds me of what my dad always said when we were young, that there's only one absolutely 100% sure way of failing an exam.
Not
Taking the exam.
taking the exam.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If that is the only way you're guaranteed to fail. You know,
fail.
if I go and take an exam in analytical calculus or something, well, I might be able to get 1 or 2 questions out of 100 correct. But the only way I 100% will fail is not to start, not to take the exam. So it's the same thing. You know, there's that fear of failure. What if it doesn't work out? Well, you're already failing by not starting. So
By
why
not
not?
starting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So give yourself an opportunity to
Just do it. I
just do
mean,
it. Yeah.
as much as I have journeyed, there's still certain things I want to do, and I'm like, no, I can't. And one of these, I just told you, we got a funding to run a children's program in summer. When I first saw the application, I was like, oh, I don't think we're qualified. I don't think this, da. I'm sure the form is too long, blah, blah, blah. I went on and on, and I was like, I'm not doing it. This was the 6th of March or something, or 6th, yeah. So I just said, Eloho, just do it. What's the worst that will happen? They will say no. No, not kill you. So just do it. So I started the application. Lo and behold, it was just 2 pages. So my fear of it will be too clumsy, it will be too bulky. I was like, wow. So this is what I would have missed out on if I had allowed that fear stop me. And it's the same thing with life. What would they say? What would they think? Maybe they won't support me. Just do it, and it will amaze you. You know what will come out of that. So,
Yeah, and that follows as well. If you didn't do it, no one's going to support you. That is guaranteed that nobody will support you. You know, thank you so much for that. And
thank you.
you know, Eloho, you're very big on gratitude.
Absolutely.
You know,
Gratitude queen.
What do you call that? GQ.
That's a nice one.
Yeah, GQ. Yes. I think we'll stick with that going forward now. You know, so before we wrap up, let's take a moment for gratitude. You know, who would you like to thank on this your wonderful journey from when you're 9 years old till now?
Oh wow, that would be a long list.
Yes.
But I'll try and shorten it. First of all, I just want to say thank you to God, for the gift of life, for the breath of life, for making me. I just really, really want to say thank you, God, and just to honor Him for making me this amazing person. I used to dislike my height, but every day now I thank God for my height. So I'm grateful to God for my parents, my mom, for how she brought me up. Her legacy still lives on. She was such a positive person, so positive. And I remember back in the day when I will always say words like I'm tired, she will actually squeeze my mouth and stop saying that, not wanting any negativity to come out from my mouth. So I'm really grateful for her life, the impact that she was, all of the things she taught me, my dad, my siblings, my big sister, she's my greatest cheerleader. She was 16 years old when they had me, and from then on till now, she has championed my cause. She has cheered me on. My big brother, Ruke, the same thing. All my siblings, I'm really, really grateful to them. I am super, 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 super grateful for everyone that has journeyed with me from that moment till now. Well, I'm grateful for those who left. Yes, thank God.
Because that was a learning moment
absolutely.
as well. So yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they taught me a few things, So I'm grateful for my friends who just show up for me. Honestly, I don't know how they do it, but they just show up. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for Pat Song Live. I'm grateful for Sheila. I must say that Sheila she's a mother. Sometimes when she's scolding me, she's like, what do I know? I was like, you know what, you're my mom. So it's okay for you to scold me and put me right. She has so helped me in different ways. So I'm thankful for Sheila. I'm thankful for Debbie. Debbie is usually behind the scene. Nobody sees her, but she's such a strong force and support to Heart Song Live Radio. I'm thankful for every single person that has passed through Heart Song that is here now. I mean, everyone that has even come in the last 1 year, they've come with so much fire. I'm like, oh wow, okay. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for my children, that they understand me and they support me. I mean, yesterday we got back from school, and when they got back from school, I was too tired to do the dishes because I had made the mess, right? It's not their fault. I left some mess. But you know what? Without asking, they did it.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for my children. Amy was tired, but she was like, Mom, would you like me to do something for you? Oh, wow.
Wow.
Okay. You know, so I'm grateful for Amy, Josh, and Nathan, and of course the Olorogun himself for just accepting my randomness. It's like you, eh? You just come up with all sorts. But I'm just thankful for the backbone that he is, for the support that he is, and for always keeping me right, because he does keep me right. You know? So yeah, these are some of my gratitude for you both. I mean, you both have been a blessing to us. I mean, not just in recent times. For those who don't know, I will say it. It was as a result of, I can't remember how we met, but you were the ones who helped us to be able to buy our first house in Aberdeen. We never, ever forget that.
Wow.
You know?
Oh, really?
When
I
I was
can't
even
remember.
yeah, I had to. When I was even
Wow.
saying to my husband that you guys were interviewing me, he was like, "Oh yeah." So he now mentioned it. So anytime we talk about you, we always bring that up.
Oh,
So
wow.
I'm really grateful for you. I'm grateful for Moshola. I hope she listens to this. That woman is a powerhouse, honestly.
Absolutely.
Moshola is just such a blessing,
Full of
and I'm
energy. Yeah.
thankful for her. You know, her sacrifices, her commitment, it's mind blowing. So yeah, I could go on and on. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. So we are, winding down this amazing interview that we
Unfortunately.
really don't want it to end. And we're also inviting our community to sow into this legacy through our 8 for 8 campaign, whether it's £8, £88, £888, or however much God is laying on your heart. Your giving helps Heartsong Live continue to bring hope, truth, and encouragement around the world. And you can give today at heartsonglive.co.uk/donate, or maybe we'll bring another link that is specific to this 8 for 8 campaign. And also we will be having a radiothon next week, Thursday,
Yay.
the 22nd, when we're hosting an 8-hour radiothon filled with loads of fun programs. So watch out for that, so as to raise our £8,000.
So thank you so much, Eloho. Honestly, we are so very grateful to you for your obedience, for listening to God and sticking with God from. I'm sure I'm going to keep quoting that for the next years to come. From when you are 9 years old till today. Thank you for saying yes. You know, because you said yes, the sound hasn't faded. It's grown stronger and clearer and louder. Honestly, from this conversation today, I've the three things I have learned. Well, lots of things I've learned, but 3 have really stuck with me. You know, when you're searching and learning, when you're walking with God, it's a life of searching and learning. You know, secondly, to consider more this thing about approval addiction. You know. Because it's one of the tools that the devil can use to hold you down. You know, so I'm just encouraging all our listeners to, in your own private lives, in private time, just look into that. And thirdly is, we're talking of legacy. The big word here is involvement. So you want to involve your children, your wards, whoever you're surrounded with, because you cannot just pluck them from their lives and expect to continue with the visions. And to our listeners, thank you so much for being part of the story. Let's keep lifting hearts. Let's keep sharing the truth, and let's keep this legacy going on and growing together.
Absolutely. So as we round up today, we thank you for being part of our celebration here at Heartsong Live. And as always, We thank you for making room for us to be a part of your marital success story.
So we air here on Heartsong Live, which is Scotland's first, as you've heard a lot about, first Christian radio station on DAB Digital. We air on Mondays and we have a replay on Wednesdays. Again, please join us in this celebration as we unite for 8 to raise 8,000. And we deeply appreciate your support, whether it's £8, £88, £888, or £888,000.
£8,000.
Oh, wow. 888,000. Amazing.
Any amount you manage to choose. You know, your giving helps us to stay connected, to share the truth that we hear from God, and support lives through every broadcast, every story, every song, you know, reaching the people who need hope the most and to help them lift their hearts. It is simple, it is powerful, and it's something we can all be part of. You know, I can't imagine anyone saying no to joining this journey with Eloho. She's such an inspiration.
Absolutely.
So give today at heartsonglive.co.uk/donate, and let's keep it going together, 8 for 8. So if you're listening to this program on a Monday, please stay tuned for Arise with Eloho. She airs on the hour at 11 p.m. And if on Wednesday, you'll have What's on Your Plate with Annette on the hour. Annette runs a lifestyle magazine show that through this its interview series, it takes a deep dive into the lives of people doing amazing things in their communities. We ask you to support the radio station so we can keep bringing you these dynamic programs like ours to build a community of faith by spreading the good news and bringing faith and fellowship across the world. Visit heartsonglive.co.uk/donate to donate towards the work.
Every little helps. So we always appreciate your feedback on MXperience@lidiosantos.com, and all our episodes are also available on our YouTube channel with our handle at Marriage Experience. That's experience without the E. Also, don't forget to download the HSL app for quick and convenient access to all our live programs, up-to-date weekly schedules, and that's also where you can catch up with programs you may have missed.
So once again, it's been a pleasure spending time with you, and with Eloho, this has just been really great this evening, and we look forward to audio seeing you sometime.
That's our coin word, audio scene.
I like that.
And before we go, just one last question for you. How do you pronounce the name properly? Is it Eloho? Is it Eloho? Or just keep us straight, please.
Eloho.
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 No.
Eloho.
Eloho.
Eloho. Wow.
Okay.
Eloho.
Okay. Thank you so much. We'll make sure we get that right.
We've anglicized it by
Yes. Even I was anglicizing it for years until my sister corrected me.
Okay.
Eloho. Okay.
So goodbye.
Thank you so much for being with us.
I had an amazing time. God
So
bless.
did we.
Okay, God
then.
bless you.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Have an
Bye.
awesome rest of your week, and God bless you.
Bless you.
Join Ayakule and Bosade again next week on the Marriage Experience program as they bring God's truth to help you build your marriage God's way. Till then, remember, marriage is God's idea, and it is a good thing.
The marriage experience ordained by you.